Well, the Washington Post says that Bill Shapard is the preeminent pollster in Oklahoma. How would I disagree with that? Washington Post. Now, is that fake news or is it real news? When I read the story, the headline from Thursday, in conservative Oklahoma, a Republican raises taxes and many voters like it.
Well, you know, Oklahomans, I think, are philosophically very low tax or no new tax. But situationally, Oklahoma has changed over the last year. We had a budget deficit, couldn't have a balanced budget by the time we started the next session, a teacher strike, no pay raise for teachers in 10 years. And so I think that the Oklahomans were saying that, hey, maybe we needed to do something situationally if that included raising taxes. Now, in Oklahoma City, you have seen where they have invested in projects under Ron Norick, and there was a return on that investment. So Oklahomans, particularly Republicans, are looking at that and saying, look, when we take money and we invest it, we can get a return on investment. Now, the question is that if Mitt Cornett becomes governor, can he carry that to the governor's office? And that's kind of a little bit debatable. And I think because of the aspect that 50% of the budget is education, and education right now doesn't look like, you know, Oklahomans think that it can be fixed with more money because we have too many school districts, a bloated administration. So that's the reason why I think that it's debatable at this point.
Okay, I'm watching this sloth over here who's moving faster than the state question 78 implementation. What is going on in terms of this article, which if you go to my Twitter, @MitchellTalks, you can see that entire article. How is what's going on with 788 impacting stories like what the Washington Post is talking about?
Well, I think it impacts it because it talks about people, whether they're going to come out and vote or not. We had a huge increase in the number of people that voted during the primary, more so than we had the 4 years before, totally driven by 788. And so I think that the implementation of that between now and the end of the year or next session is going to heavily impact these races, particularly among turnout.
Or the unimplementation, the way it's going right
yeah,
now.
That's right.
You mentioned on election night that perhaps these were one-and-done voters. With all of this mismanagement, all of this scandal, all of this drama that's going on around SQ 788, are they turning that into a voting bloc, like on the state level, like maybe a little mini Tea Party?
Well, you know, you might think that, but when we go back and look at voting patterns over the course of time, we see that some people will just turn out for elections and other people won't. Sometimes it's an issue's got to carry them to the polls. But will that continue? We don't necessarily see that at times. We look back to 2010, we could see that Democrats were very disenfranchised with Barack Obama and would not turn out in 10, which created the huge red wave for Republicans. So that remains to be seen, but if we look back to history, it might fizzle before it really builds to a wave.
All right, two questions left. Number one, are we turning purple? What we saw, we talked about at election at the possibility of turning purple. Is that long-term really happening?
I think turning purple or is really about more Democrats turning out for election. We saw a decrease in Democrat voting after Barack Obama was elected, but we have slowly seen greater enthusiasm and we've seen greater Democrat turnout. If that happens, they will somewhere get to the equaling where Republicans are right now and make it more competitive for sure.
All right, and the last question is the full-scale recreational, the mismanagement on the state question on 788, is that going to affect the runoff in the general? We've got 30 seconds.
Well, we've got a poll right now for News 9 that's coming out this week, first of next week, talks about smokable marijuana, talks about a pharmacist at dispensaries, talks about recreational marijuana. So we're going to really find out what the public thinks moving forward next week as we go into some of these special meetings.
All right, we'll hear more about this first of the week. Bill Shapard, SoonerPoll, and Ole Miss. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks.
All right, see this again at news9.com/yourvotecounts. Follow me, Scott Mitchell, on Twitter @MitchellTalks. You can read that article.